Welcome back, everybody, to our energy tips for week 50. That is December the 8th till December 14th, 2019. My name is Jona Bryndis, as you know, and I'm a professional energy healer and energy coach and therapist. All right, so this next week here, starting today, is going to be quite intense, guys. We've had 2 weeks of pushing through things already, and this next week basically characterized through some of the lunar cycles that we are experiencing. Full moon is always the time of letting go, of clearing, of closure, of endings and new beginnings. And so things will heat up even more. But let's not get demotivated by that. It just tells you what it is that you as an energetically sensitive have already been dealing with, which is nothing but really learning how to become your own energetic self-master. But the tasks ahead here are us to not just control ourselves better, but to go into this visionary self-growth and to decide, to discern, which reality we are aligning to, whether we align to the lower reality, which is the one that we see in the collective, or to the higher reality, which is the one that we are attuning ourselves to through our true self. So many of you will experience a bit of a recoil, relapse, and we'll see sort of these seductions of your ego mind, your shadow, and so forth come in. And all that really does is to remind you on your self-responsibility. With freedom comes self-responsibility, guys, not in the sense of consequence or punishment, but in the sense of I can choose. I discern. So one of the major qualities that we need to remember ourselves of is our ability to out-vibrate lower vibes. All right, we talked about this here in the Truth Talk a couple of minutes ago. How can we sort of maintain our own stance, our own alignment, our higher expression in the face of bombardment by lower vibes from the outside that then subsequently trigger the lower vibes within us? On a relationship level, which is still very important here for this next week, to look at our relationships and our connections, it's very important that we understand that we're not in this alone. We're all in this together. We're all connected, guys. There's a mutuality that we need to tune into that allows us then to see that it's not about dog eats dog or being better than others. It's about how to work things out with others. That's a big, big reminder. But in the process of trying to work things with others, I know that you all do, we sometimes also have to make very important decisions, and that is if we are going to lower our own bar. Are we going to go lower just so that it is more acceptable or more workable for the other? And here again, still, working with your boundaries, working with your stance, knowing what you stand for. And if it's difficult for you to recommit to your true self, to not lower your bar, to say, okay, I really do want to work this out with you, but there's a certain boundary and I cannot go below that. For many of you, this might actually lead to a whole new definition of love, a very beautiful, sobering, and independent view of love, where the freedom that comes with truly loving will become more aware to you. Mentally, though, and this is the biggest challenge here, it is the dealing with false beliefs, with the dogma, with all the propaganda that we are being bombarded with, guys. And trust me, it's difficult right now, even for a trained energy worker, to see through this. There's also a lot of downloads that are coming in, downloads from your true self, reminding you of what you stand for, reminding you to have faith into your true self and the higher expression and embodiment of this. So please remember that you are not alone in this. Understand that sometimes we have to go in the lead. Sometimes we have to be very, very clear and stern, almost strict about our love and what we align ourselves to. And sometimes we have to be more forgiving, more compassionate, and seeing that it's a continual matter of exchange. All right, but when it comes to the collective energies, guys, I really want you guys to understand that this isn't benign right now. This isn't friendly, what is going on there. So those of you who feel this bombardment energetically or physically, perhaps, understand that we are right in the middle of this paradigm shift that I've been talking about for years. And we are being blasted, bombarded with dogma, political correctness, and propaganda. And what all this is the confrontation with an untruth. All right? But it is the very thing that can help us to grow. It is the very thing that can allow us to learn how to discern better. So I really want you guys, whether it's watching news, political dramas, business news, whatever it is that you're observing, even, observing dramas of other people, to discern which of this is actually true and which isn't. It's all real. That doesn't mean it's true. Integrity means that we have the ability to choose our reality, whether we want to go into or energize the higher reality of our true self or the lower reality of our ego self. And freedom means that we should have the space, we should have the time, and we should have the permission to think freely, to love freely, to feel freely through ourselves. That's ultimately what self-responsibility means, guys. You're not going to get this permission from the outside right now. The collective energy is crazy. It's holding on to the collapsing 3D paradigm of force. All right. And if we really want to learn how to embody these true values for us, we have to focus on seeing through these projections and externalizations that our own ego does. Waiting for permission, waiting for something is nothing but an externalization. Blaming, righteousness, all that is an externalization. An externalization of our power means we're not self-responsible. It might be buried deep down in us, but it is a finger pointing. It is, well, I can't do this because of him, or because of the political system, or because of the energies, or whatever. No. As real as this might be, it is the lower reality that you're choosing, because the higher reality is that that's not true. Yes, there are conditions, there are circumstances and so forth that can be favorable or that can be constrictive. So what is your responsibility? To work on the conditions so that they become more favorable, more advantageous for you, to express and embody your own freedom to live, to love, and to think and feel for many of us. Energetically here, the chakras involved next week, it's currently already there, is the third chakra, the force versus power, the holding on, white-knuckled, the stress, the I'm not good enough, I need to go harder, I need to do more, I need to control this. All right, that is the third chakra in its lower expression. In its higher expression, the third chakra, the solar plexus, gives you the stance, gives you the faith in yourself, gives you the energy to express who you truly are. It is the rawest life force here that can be translated into who you truly are and how you want your life to be. So choose the higher expression of your third chakra, or else you're going to get caught in your ego shadow, false self stuff, trauma as well. In addition to this, we have a very strong fifth and sixth chakra aspect right now. So 5th and 6th, when they come together, it's all about seeing truth. All right. And seeing truth is a bit challenging right now, and you'll see next week this will be extremely challenging. It's already starting with you guys, these weirdo dreams and visions that you have, because there's a lot coming in right now. So seeing truth and discerning truth has to do with how you contextualize what you are seeing, what is coming in, these downloads that I mentioned, that 7th chakra, by the way. Your task is to bring this into truth, to set aside the things that make no sense to you or that make you feel contracted, and to focus on the things that you can tell feel true to you, make it easier for you to go into the flow. The 7th chakra aspect of this week brings in the downloads from your true self, how to commit yourself to yourself, how to embody yourself, how to go into the higher expression of yourself. But it also comes in with a lot of false information. It comes in with a lot of fantasies, with a lot of, propaganda stuff, all right, where your contextualization goes into the lower expression of that. And that is, oh, I have to be in this way. Oh, judge, like all the righteousness and the judgment that comes in is bad to be in a lower state, or it's bad to have emotions, or it's bad, blah, blah, blah. Those are all sort of the lower expressions of an widened, more open 7th chakra. And this can lead to you guys having massive issues with your critical inner voice. Massive, massive issues with your critical inner voice for this next week. So remember, when you get stuck in your critical inner voice, that it's not you. It's just a recording. And for the most part, it's also sort of a mirroring of this global shadow coming out right now. Okay, you have to learn to discern, to see through this. Okay. Physically, I'm seeing multiple things going on at the same time. So mostly head sinuses, that's 5th and 6th chakra, but also the stomach problems, issues with your pancreas, and issues with your blood-brain barrier. So when I get this in, what this means to me is that I have to pay particular attention to what I'm ingesting. Okay, because if this blood-brain barrier, this is where most of the excitotoxins and the contaminants and so forth through foods, where they really mess with my system. It can also indicate to me that there's a neurotransmitter problem. Okay, and neurotransmitter problems, as you know, can have a massive effect on your mood, on how you feel about yourself. All right, whether you feel down or whether you feel energized, whether you feel optimistic or pessimistic, whether you feel like you can connect with others or not, whether you feel loved or not. Okay, so that there is a confusion there this next week, and you need to be very, very careful here. So food is one of the things that you want to pay attention to, but also the emotions that you swallow, all right? And perhaps also the thoughts that you swallow. The emotions come with the thoughts. So if you still find yourself in a place of stiffness or sort of flaring up arthritis, then understand that this has to do with this paradigm shift with our physical adjusting to this transformation. This has to happen in the physical as well. So my overall tip for you here physically is tune into your sensuality again, feel yourself again, do anything that helps you to sense yourself again and use your senses, maybe your sense of beauty, get new clothing. I mentioned this last week. But most and foremost, really do this visionary self-growth in the sense of that you envision the body that you want instead of focusing how many pounds you've gained and how disgusting that is or whatever, and talking yourself down with all the things that you're not doing that were supposed to be done. All right, envision the body that you want. Feel the body that you want. Go into active self-healing, guys. This week you're going to get an invitation to join the community event here, the 3-day detox during the winter solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere. That is the 19th, 20th, and 21st of December, and followed by the 10-day spiritual challenge, which I need you guys to send an application in because we have only limited spots available. But the detox is something that we can all do. It's self-responsibility, right? We're choosing to refrain from certain things. We're basically telling our system who's boss. All right, that's what detox is for. You are consciously refraining from the instant gratification, and that's something to just on a side note here, to help you with these neural pathways, and this brain blood barrier that I talked about earlier with your neurotransmitters. Okay, if you practice refraining from certain things that are suggested to you by your nervous system, okay, then you make a very, very active steps into self-mastery this way. So detoxing, light fasting from time to time is a very, very cool methodology to sense yourself again and to regain the power of your own system and to wean yourself off from all the addictions, even if it's just on a neurotransmitter level. Emotionally, next week, you probably already feel this, is going to be intense emotions, big emotions, and especially the kind of emotion that indicates to you a lack of fulfillment, okay? So like sort of frustration emotions. All right, so here you need to be careful because this can lead to you feeling rejected, you feeling not lovable, you doubting yourself, and then you end up in a place of lack of self-worth, which then sort of increases your critical inner voice, blah, 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 blah. You see? This is why it's so important to be okay with the emotions that come in and to learn how to process them as opposed to bury them or judging them or avoiding them. See this as an opportunity for closure, even if you're not able to do this in a graceful way. That all comes later, okay? See, whatever it is that you can close out here in this next week and renew, start a new beginning, renew your commitment to, is going to be supportive for you. Now, mentally is something that weaves through the entire December, and that is the intense mental overlay. So this will be the pinnacle of this, with extreme righteousness, judgment, and fanaticism, unfortunately. So I am seeing not so nice events here. I mean, not that we are surrounded by all cool events on the world scene here, but yeah, big things, okay? And we have to ask ourselves, if we allowed this to change our life view, it's really the faith in ourself and humanity that is being tested right now. So if you get into this frustrated place with all these big emotions on top of the mental overlay, guys, ask yourself again, does this define me? Do I identify with my thoughts? Okay. Is this my lower mind or my higher mind? You see the connection here? When you're in your lower mind, which is mostly determined by your drives, by sort of the animalistic nature of you being a human, okay, then your views and your actions and your choices, they'll also be aligned to lower vibratory energies. When you go into your higher mind, and I don't just mean your intellectualism, okay, or mentalism, that is something that allows you to see the larger connections. But when I talk about higher mind, I actually talk about your heart mind, the even higher mind, And this is then where you can feel better if you are staying within your own standards, if you're staying within your own virtues, okay? You cannot really feel that if you get pulled into this animalistic survival, dog eats dog, needing to be better or whatever, comparing yourself with others, and focusing on self gratification, greed, and so forth. You cannot feel that. It automatically lowers your reality. Okay, so watch this a little bit here. What are my limitations? What are other people's limitations? What is this statement or this a view that I'm having right now? What belief is that based on? Is that even true to me? All right. This is really what integrity means, guys. And as always, you will have to remind yourself that when you have this strong critical inner voice overlay going on, that it can only last for as long as you fixate on your mind. Okay, the moment you let go of this fixation, well, the critical inner voice resides. But that's obviously part of all this training that we do here. This has to be trained. This has to be trained over and over and over again. Socially, in relationships next week, it's really about finding the balance in relationships, talking about the mutuality of things and the reciprocalness, reciprocality, no, whatever, it being reciprocal. That needs to be worked out. That needs to be worked out between you guys. Like, you need to work this out with other people. And overall, it helps to see all your interactions with other people as an expression, as an opportunity for mutuality. Okay, but again, it's very important to maintain our boundaries and to not lower our bars. Like I mentioned in the beginning, that's our self-responsibility. And isolating is the other extreme. That is not a solution. That makes you self-centered. Okay, and that aligns you to your lower mind again. All right, so it's all about the balance between this. And all this will then help you to find a new way to define what the interaction with others and love and connection, what this even means for you. Yes, and what free love truly means. Finding the right people, finding the right places to connect with other people. This will be the remedy here for this next week. Spiritually, very, very deep spiritual week with lots of downloads from your higher self, from your true self, as I mentioned before. But the lower reality of this is also an intense spiritual pain. And when does that happen? That happens every time when we're not in truth with ourselves. Especially for those of you who've already aligned yourself to your truth. And when you're acting against it, or when you allow it to be violated, or when you fall for the seductions of your ego self. Falling for this critical inner voice, all right, and going into righteousness and judgment and all these things that come with it is what binds you into the lower reality. So the spiritual task here for this next week is to choose between your lower self, your false self, your ego self, and your higher self, your true self. What do I stand for? What do I embody here in my life? So a really cool opportunity to renew the faith in yourself, to find who you truly are in a good way, in the way that you recognize that all this inner blah blah and this emotional drama and so forth, that this is all just distraction. All right, it doesn't lead you to finding who you truly are. It's only your heart that can lead you there. And ultimately, the spiritual truth is that we embody our true self. We embody our divine inner self, the best, through love. That's our sole purpose here on this planet, is to bring love into 3D, to help to transmute all the pain and the suffering in 3D through love, the alchemy of love, guys. Yes, love does heal all, but it very much depends on the definition of love that a person has. If somebody is aligned to the lower expression of love, then it comes with jealousy and control and manipulation and emotional games, self-gain, exploitativeness, and all that. But when somebody's aligned to the higher expression of love, it comes with a lot of compassion, empathy, forgiveness, and self-responsibility. It comes with a lot of freedom. So this is the spiritual connection here, that our the relationships bring into our lives. They show us these things. They help us to develop this. And then last but not least, energetically, besides, of course, the chakra awareness and so forth, really understanding your energetic sensations. All right, you're going to have intense energetic sensations this week. Okay? Learn to read your own energy body. Identify the chakra that is involved. Look this up. Use your education. Use your training. And then understand the connection with your etheric immune system, that the lower your vibe, the more susceptible you become to outer things. Train your etheric immune system. Guys, we have a wonderful opportunity next weekend, to do the etheric visioning intensive. This is really, really important for all of you who are beginning to have more access to their higher perception, their etheric perception. You need to learn the rules of engagement there. And last but not least, you need to learn it in order to tune into this visionary self-growth, your future self, which, by the way, is the modality special that we go through here in December. So that starts on Monday, guys, every Monday. The next 3 weeks, we're going to do the future self transmission here, training how to tune into all of this. So overall, it's going to be a stressful week just due to the bombardment that is happening. But as always, also a wonderful, wonderful invitation to reconnect with who we truly are and to make a stance for ourselves and to embody ourselves and to have more faith in ourselves. Love you guys. See you next week. Thank you for supporting transCODES. Bye-bye.